Namaste, my friends. Welcome to Bhakti Yoga Conference here hosted at Harvard Divinity School. So honored to be here in conversation with you, in community with you. This is grace in an age of distraction. This is the theme of our talk here, and we're bringing in beautiful souls from all around the world. Today, we've got someone representing the birthplace of yoga from Mother India joining us, but we've got monks and scholars and musicians and yogis and thought leaders, scientists, and but everybody's got a different perspective and a different path that has brought them to bhakti. And I'm very excited for today's guest. Again, there's about 1,700 of us who have registered officially. Many of you are catching the recordings, getting lots of messages of enjoying the recordings, and thank you for those who are here live with us as well. If you are catching this on Facebook and you want to join us, click the link underneath or the link in the Instagram bio. Join us, register for free. But we're super excited to get started. I'm gonna spotlight our guest while I share a little intro. Here we go. Amazing. This is Pallavi Priya. Pallavi has been practicing Bhakti Yoga for the past 2 years. And I just want to say I love that because we have these, great spiritual leaders who have been doing it for 50 or 60 years. And that's so inspiring to hear from. But I feel this is also very relevant and relatable because being newer on your journey. So Pallavi has been practicing Bhakti Yoga the past couple of years, currently serving at Govardhan EcoVillage, which is in India, as a sustainability educator in the sustainability department. She's a certified yoga teacher, like many of you, comes with more than 11 years of experience working as an IT professional at Infosys. And alongside her corporate career, Pallavi has been actively involved in various social and environmental projects, contributing to positive change in society. She's the founder of Cause for Celebration, a nonprofit initiative focused on serving, empowering, and uplifting underprivileged and low-income communities. Beautiful. Pallavi is also a youth for SDG and runs a digital platform called Eco-Friendly World, which works towards climate action, environmental awareness, and encouraging sustainable living, aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. She's also hosted a podcast series. We'll have to get you on our podcast sometime. We've got one as well. So where she has interviewed climate activists from around the world. Pallavi is recognized as a Max Tabisco, I'll just mute you, as a Max Tabisco Climate Ambassador, has been part of the Unleash Innovation Lab as a talent. Amazing. So happy to have you here with us, Pallavi. We actually had a chance to meet last summer at the Govardhan EcoVillage. We had a really nice conversation on spirituality and Bhakti Yoga. And personally, I'm just inspired by the work that you're doing with sustainability and the groups that come into Govardhan EcoVillage. And I must say to you and to all the women out there, Happy International Women's Day. This is the day. And we need to celebrate you every day, but definitely today. And so very divine timing that on this day we have you, a woman from India, the birthplace of yoga, connecting here to share your heart with us. Our title of today's session is Divine Nature, a Spiritual Perspective on Environmental Crisis. My friends, if you're ready to get started with Pallavi Priya, throw your arms in the air and loudly chant, Haribol. Welcome, Pallavi.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jack. And namaste from India. Namaste, everyone. And it's my absolute honor to be here. I really feel blessed. Thank you for inviting me amongst all the other eminent guests. And it's really a wonderful initiative. I have myself gone through a couple of sessions. I could not join all of them, but yeah, I mean, so inspiring to hear from such, different personalities. So thank you for this wonderful initiative and thank you for having me here.
Oh, well, thank you for accepting. It's really important. And it was such an honor to be able to invite you to the conversation. And just before we jump in, because you have a beautiful presentation prepared and to really educate us on this potential and the importance of sustainability. And before we jump to that, it's so helpful that we get to know you. So, I mean, I read your bio, which is very impressive.
Yeah.
But just to get to know you a little bit, obviously your life story is huge, but can you give us a taste, what brought you to spirituality? What brought you to Bhakti Yoga?
Sure. Thank you for that question. So, like you have already read in my bio, so I have been working into an IT company for like I have more than 11 years of experience. And apart from my this professional career, I was like always associated with projects into like social and environmental sector. So you can say like it's like been more than a decade that I have been associated with projects which help bring some positive change in the society. So I used to like it's just like a natural I think which comes to like everyone what is the purpose of life. So that's how I used to think that what is the purpose of my life. So I came across this Japanese principle like ikigai. So I used to think like okay my purpose of life is to like help others. So I just figured out that ikigai principle in my own life, and like helping others I figured out as my purpose of life. But then slowly I started feeling something missing. I was not satisfied, although like I started my own social initiative. I was associated with like multiple projects where I'm working on ground with the lower income communities, but still I used to feel something is missing and I didn't know what is that. So I started getting questioned that what does real happiness means, and what is why we are even born, why we are born, and who am I started questioning, like I mean just naturally these questions started coming to my mind. And that's where like being from India and being a Hindu, of course I knew about Bhagavad Gita, but unfortunately I have never read it. So I developed this interest that I should read Bhagavad Gita. Maybe if I read Bhagavad Gita, I'll get the answers of these questions. So I just started exploring where should I read and all, and that's where I came across Govardhan EcoVillage because. I knew about Govardhan EcoVillage through sustainability because I'm into sustainability. So I was like already associated with the organizations who are into sustainability, but I didn't know this aspect of Govardhan EcoVillage. And then I just randomly I came across a post where they were having starting a Bhagavad Gita course. So I just thought like, okay, I should join this course, and that's how I just came to GV, and it's been like yeah almost 2 years. And after coming to GV, my Bhakti Yoga journey started.
Wow, that's amazing. What a divine timing. I mean, it has everything there. It has the sustainability for you, it has the spirituality, it
Yeah.
also has the social outreach. And probably other, those who are on the line here, we've heard now a few times this reference to Govardhan Eco Village. I think it's next week or in about a week and a half, Gauranga Prabhu, who's the director of Govardhan Eco Village, he's actually going to be spending a whole session with us to explain the vision, the mission, but you're giving us a taste of some of the sustainability work. And maybe again, just before we get to the presentation, will you share why? So you found it. You were into sustainability. You're learning that your calling, your dharma in life is to help others. You find Govardhan Eco Village. You find Bhakti. What what results have you had? How has it impacted your life? What how did it feel such that you're there now? It's late at night. You're at the Govardhan Eco Village.
Yeah.
You're about right after this, you're hopping on a flight. You've given your life to this practice in this community. What has the impact been? And there must be one.
Yeah, I would say, like in my personal life, I would say like it is a shift in my mindset because I have been already working into, projects with, of environmental protection. But after coming to GV and after understanding the Bhakti Yoga, there is a, drastic shift in the mindset because like until now, I used to think environmental crisis from, technological perspective. But then I started realizing that this whole spirituality, that we are spiritual being in this material body, and that is something very important to understand, that it is our relation with the Supreme Lord. That is what important is, and that is why I think that is what something missing in my life before I came to GV. So yeah, after coming here, I I got into Bhakti Yoga, and it has impacted me in like shifting my perspective towards environmental crisis, towards like helping others, that how we should focus on that every human being is, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. We are the creation of this, of the Creator, who is the Supreme Lord. So yeah, all these things I started understanding, and that missing thing which I used to feel in spite of helping people, in spite of working on the environmental projects, after coming here, after connecting into spirituality, I got a better perspective. And I could say, I mean, yeah, like it's beautiful. And to understand ourselves as, part and parcel of the Supreme, and to serve the
Mm.
Supreme Lord. Yeah, that is beautiful.
I love it. I mean, that's the vibe, that's the mood there at Govardhan EcoVillage. And I see there's a number of the yogis who are on Zoom here with us today. They're going to be coming with us. We're bringing a group there in November this year, so you'll get to meet Pallavi. You'll get to meet many of our very different speakers and Radhanath Swami. But thank you for giving us a taste of your journey thus far. And just so everybody knows, as usual, we'll save time at the end for a Q&A. So if you have those, please share them. But shall I?
And just one point I would like to add here, like you were talking about the impact, right? And when I was saying like how I came into Bhakti, is like I was also looking for like what is real happiness. So maybe now I feel that I feel myself from inside like more happy and more content. So yeah, I think that is also one major impact which has created in my own life after coming into Bhakti Yoga at Govardhan EcoVillage.
Wow, that's amazing. I see that. I mean, our interactions that we had last summer, and again, just like a testament to the community there, the satsang, the sangha, the sadhu sangha. It's, there's a lot of beautiful communities around the world, including this online community. And I will say, Govardhan Eco Village is kind of like, when it comes to spiritual community, um, about the highest level I've ever experienced. And so beautiful that you get to live there, to be there, to serve there. And now we get to be nourished by your offering today. So thank you. Of
I feel blessed. Thank you.
course. So shall I pull up your PowerPoint?
Yes, yes, sure.
Okay, so we will get this pulled up. And I think I'll pull it back to the beginning.
Yeah,
Amazing. Okay.
yeah. Thank you, Jack, for sharing this. So, namaste, everyone. So, today I'm going to talk about my topic is like divine nature, a spiritual perspective on environmental crisis. So, presentation is just the flow of my talk. I'm not going to like read through it, but you know, this will be just the flow. So, we'll be like embarking on a journey to understand and like how spirituality, especially Bhakti Yoga, it inspires us to take care of Mother Earth. So before we start, maybe if we can just ask a question that when you hear the term environmental crisis, like what comes to your mind? If anyone would just like to, maybe you can mention in the chat box.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, put in the chat box. I mean, I think about global warming. I think about the oil spills. I think about the North and the South poles melting. I think about all the
Yeah,
earthquakes and the tornado, like all these crazy storms and floods and um,
right.
yeah.
So this environmental crisis, which is like a real problem in this, this current day. So we'll understand this real problem from a spiritual perspective, like what I have learned in these 2 years in Bhakti Yoga, and like how I was talking about, like how my perspective changed. So whatever limited knowledge I have gained, I will just share that. So maybe we can go to the next slide, Jack. Yeah, so I see in the chat people are mentioning climate change, global warming. So yeah, when we hear about this real problem, environmental crisis, so yes, these things comes to our mind like pollution, climate change, deforestation, waste. So have you ever thought about like why is this happening? It's such a big problem happening around, but what is the reason why it is happening? So before coming to Bhakti Yoga, like I have been working into a lot of projects, and I used to think, from only that mindset that it is a technology. Maybe we are proceeding towards a technological advancement, and that is the sole reason why we started facing this environmental crisis. But then, after coming into spirituality, I realized that there is a deeper meaning to it. So, in the next slide. Yeah. So I will just redefine the word nature for you here. So nature is like beyond the material. In a modern perspective, we consider nature as, a resource, something like which can be exploited for our, human comfort, for the economic growth. And that is what we are seeing in these rays, right? But from bhakti perspective, from spirituality point of view, especially the bhakti yoga, that says that nature is not just set of resources, but nature is like divine energy of Krishna. Everything in nature, whether it is trees, rivers, animals, everything is nature, Krishna's divine energy, you know. And if you consider something as divine, would you ever think about to harm it? I mean, that's just a question for all. Maybe you can reply again in the chat box. If we consider something as divine, will we think of harming it?
No, definitely not. I mean, if we see everything as divine, everything as God, we're going to respect it so much more. And I just want to quickly plug that right there. This is Govardhan EcoVillage. This photo, that's the building called Satsang
Yeah,
Bhavan. This we'll be
right.
practicing yoga there in November, and just surrounded by that lush environment in the Sayadri Mountains. In fact, we will climb to the top of that mountain there. My good friend Bhadranitai Prabhu um, will take us to the top of that mountain, and it's an incredible view. Sorry, yes, seeing all of this as
I see in
divine,
that comment.
seeing
Yeah.
this as divine, I would treat it very differently.
Right. And that's what, that shift in perspective came into my life as well. Like till now, thinking it as like a technological issue. But then when I started realizing that this is divine, this is something given to us as a gift, and we are not supposed to exploit it. So we'll just walk through. Maybe the next slide we can go. So, what is the that root cause of this? We'll talk about some root cause of this crisis, which I figured out is, in my last 2 years of journey, it is a spiritual disconnection, because we don't know our true dharma as a human being. We need to understand that we are spiritual being in this material body. you know we are not just the material body, we are a spiritual being in the material body. And the next thing is commodification. Like I was saying, in modern perspective, nature is treated just as a resource, whereas spirituality teaches us that nature is not just a resource, it is a divine energy, the divine creation of the supreme lord. So, if we stop treating nature as just as a resource, if we shift our mind from this exploitation to reverence, we automatically we start treating the nature in a different way. We start treating, we stop exploiting the nature. And with this modern view where we are treating nature as a commodity, as a resource, we think ourselves as the owners. We tend to think ourselves that we are the owner of this planet. We are, I'm sorry, I just got distracted with the question in the chat box. Yeah. Maybe we can reply to that later. Is it okay?
Yes, of course.
Sure. So, with this mindset, we started thinking ourselves as the owner of the planet, like everything belongs to us, which is really not true. So, we need to shift our mindset from this exploitation to a reverence. Like from in spiritual perspective, in India, the river Ganges has been, it has been worshipped. We don't just treat it as just a water body which is providing us water, but we are worshipping the river, we are worshipping the cows. But still, because of these technological advancement, we are becoming like greedy. We started exploiting the nature because this modern perspective is teaching us to just consume, to hoard more. So that shift in the mindset is what is needed. So if you love someone, you don't, hurt their belongings. Like suppose, like just a small example, like if we go to somebody's home, so it is their property. So do we spread garbage over there? So that is how this whole nature, this planet, everything belongs to the supreme lord. He is the creator of everything. So if we are polluting this planet, if we are polluting the nature, the environment, we are disrespecting the supreme creator. That is the message, something which we need to understand. And there is a it is coming from the scripture. So there is a in Sri Ishopanishad, the verse number 1, that teaches us this. I will just read out the shloka, that Isha vasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita ma grida kasyasa vidhana. So this shloka teaches us, maybe we can go to the next slide, Jack. It tells us that everything, whether it is living thing or non-living thing, everything belongs to the Supreme Lord, the Creator. It's not belong to us. So that is something which we need to understand, And once we start understanding that, automatically how we are treating the nature, that shift in mindset like starts coming. And we it's like we should only utilize what is our quota is, but what we are doing right now, we have already reached our quota and we started exploiting. And that is why the current generation that is questioning to our generation that how dare you, because we have exploited so much that we have not left anything for the coming generation, and now they are questioning us that how dare you. So if we shift can bring this shift in our lifestyle, in our life, then we'll start treating nature with more reverence, and we'll stop exploiting it. Next slide. Yeah. So I'll just talk about this greed versus simplicity. And it's like a very big a call to action. So modern lifestyle, that is teaching us to consume more, waste more. We are just always thinking about, I need this, I need that, and maybe that is not even needed, but those are our wants. That is something which are not we are not understanding, and we are becoming greedy. But the bhakti lifestyle, it teaches us simple living and high thinking. So I'll just talk about here, like what does simple living and high thinking means. So simple living, high thinking is a principle which Govardhan EcoVillage also works on. And it basically means that we should just consume what is needed and we should not become greedy. We should live a minimalistic lifestyle. We should avoid unnecessary consumption. That's what simple living means. And high thinking means we should focus on our spiritual growth, our inner transformation, and not just the external consumption. We should understand like who we are, why we are here, why we are here. Like these questions I was getting initially, and that's how I ended up into Bhakti Yoga, that who am I? What is my purpose? I started feeling like that. So that is something we should feel. And then what is our relationship with the Supreme Lord? That is something we need to understand. And if we focus on that, then automatically our relationship with the nature changes, and we become nature protectors instead of exploiters. you know so there is a like a great saying that nature provides enough for everyone's need but not for everyone's greed, but we are becoming greedy. So it's high time that we need to change our mindset. We need to understand that we are becoming greedy, and we need to bring this shift in our lifestyle. And bhakti yoga is something which helps us in bringing this lifestyle. So in the next slide we see that how, maybe we can go to the next slide. Yeah, that what is the role of bhakti in healing the planet? Maybe we have never thought about from this perspective that bhakti can also be a solution for the environmental crisis which is happening. And that is something which I also understood after coming into Bhakti Yoga, that it has a big role, because spirituality, especially the Bhakti Yoga, it teaches us that earth is a goddess. It is not just a lifeless rock. It is goddess, and we need to treat her, respect Mother Earth. So in India, we say Mother Earth. So we need to respect it. And when we have this respectful mindset, we'll automatically, again, not exploit it, right? So if we understand, we need to serve we need to have that service attitude, service towards the earth, because we have got all this as a gift from the divine, and it is the Supreme Lord's creation. That is something we need to understand. And that is where Bhakti Yoga plays a major role, which helps you in, bringing this shift in your mindset. You can go to the next slide. yeah, especially that Bhakti Yoga, it teaches us to offer everything back to the Supreme Lord. We here in India we refer as Krishna, but it's just the Supreme Lord, whomsoever you believe in. So we need to offer everything back. We need to understand we have received this as a gift. It is a blessing to us, whatever we have received. And instead of just taking from the nature, we need to understand that we need to also give back, and we need to leave behind a greener world for our coming generation, which we see it's not happening, and that's the whole real problem of environmental crisis. So when we shift our mindset, from nature just as a resource to something as a gift, then automatically we develop this how do you say, the perspective of gratitude, right? So let's say like a simple act here, like before eating food, we just thank that, whatever is on our plate, we thank that, thank you, the Supreme Lord, for providing us the food. So once we, bring these small changes in our life, we can bring this change, right? So these are just small things mentioned. So when you see naturally, when we see everything as like Krishna's gift, the Supreme Lord's gift, we naturally use it very carefully. And Bhakti Yoga helps us to, bring us this very practical lifestyle changes, which is not very difficult to implement. We can go to the next slide. There are some simple things I have just mentioned, that it is just like, just waste less, treat resources as divine gifts, and just, reduce unnecessary consumption, which I was just talking about. And use like environmentally friendly products. We should, because these days we are seeing a lot of uh, products are there, and we are using them maybe unknowingly. We are not aware about it, that it is causing harm to the environment. But when we treat everything as divine, when we understand everything as divine, we automatically tend to start using all the things very carefully, you know. So we'll become conscious of our action, that whatever maybe you're using in your daily lifestyle, is it causing any harm to the environment? We develop that consciousness. So that is something very important. We need to understand that we are not the only species in this earth, right? There are 8.4 million other species, and we think ourselves as dominant, like, which is not true. So we need to understand there are other species as well, and we need to respect all the species. So again, Bhakti Yoga like teaches us to be compassionate towards all the living beings, all the lives are sacred. We need to understand that. So if I say my example, before coming into bhakti, I used to be a non-vegetarian. But then, even though I was involved into projects which is for environmental protection, but my lifestyle was a non-vegetarian. And after coming into bhakti, when I started understanding that I need to respect all the living creatures, so automatically that shift has came, that lifestyle change has came in my life. So that is where like bhakti yoga plays a very, I mean, this plays a very major role and impact in my own life. And bhakti, like, it teaches us universal compassion, which automatically leads to environmental care. So all these things, whatever I'm talking about, the key message is just that if we treat everything as a gift which we have received from the divine, from the Supreme Lord, we'll automatically become careful in our actions. We'll not be working from an exploitative mindset, but we will be working from a very careful and compassionate mindset, you know. So yeah, and Bhakti community, I have been experiencing since last 2 years this Bhakti community here at Govardhan EcoVillage. It's like living with this principle, which is simple living and high thinking. So we are focusing on our inner transformation and not only our external consumption. Yeah. So I no, can you go to the previous slide?
Yep.
Yeah. So it is just, with my presentation, I just wanted to just share that how my lifestyle has changed, how my mindset, my perspective has changed towards environmental crisis when I was not in bhakti and after coming into bhakti. So maybe whatever I have learned here in these last 2 years has resonated with me, and I hope, I mean, it resonates with the audience who are here as well. So we need to focus on our heart transformation, and not only on the external changes. That is something is very important. When we heal like spiritually, so automatically environmental healing also happens. We need to respect the nature. We need to be grateful of what we have received. That is something, when you come into bhakti, it automatically this transformation starts coming into your life. So
Mm.
yeah, and this one major thing is like I used to think like what I mentioned is technology is the major reason maybe for the environmental crisis, and then after coming to bhakti, I understood that it's not like that. Technological advancement can go hand in hand without exploiting the nature, without becoming exploitative towards the nature. Still, we can be technologically advanced. Like the very live example is Govardhan EcoVillage. Here, it's like a model farm here, eco community, which is like even awarded by the United Nations. So here you see all. It's not like completely we are living a it's an of course it's an eco village, but we have like all the facilities and all the initiatives here. We try that how it is spiritually, with the spiritual wisdom, that how the technological advancements over here are also in align with the spiritual wisdom, like without exploiting the nature, how we can live in harmony with the nature and also be technologically advanced. So here, as part of the sustainability department, we have we are conserving the water, where we have like a big rainwater harvesting pond. So we, all the in the monsoons, whatever all the rainfall comes, we are conserving that water. So, and to construct that pond, a lot of technology has been involved into it. And the waste management, we have a waste management treatment plant where we are treating all the wastewater, whatever we are generating within the community here, like from the cottages and from the kitchens, everywhere. Then whatever food waste comes, we are making into compost, and then we are using it internally within the campus in our agricultural field. We are recycling the plastic. We are we have a small animal shelter, which is just giving a message that we have to conserve the biodiversity. We need to be respectful towards all the species. So Govardhan Eco Village is like a live example. It is setting an example that how without harming the nature, how you can live in harmony with all the co-species. And that is what the message of my presentation is today.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, I just
Amazing.
like to conclude with this, that if we, start understanding ourselves as a spiritual being in this material body, if we try to start, uh, if we'll just be aligned with our dharma, which is, to please the Supreme Lord and just to serve. So we'll not be working from an exploitative mindset. We need to bring back that disconnection, which has happened. So we need to bring back that. We need to connect to the Supreme Lord. We need to understand everything as a divine, as a gift which we have received. So automatically we'll become the nature protectors and not the exploiters.
Mm.
So yeah, that was about like the whole flow. And I would just like to ask, like, to the audience, if anyone would like to just answer maybe in the comments, that how would your actions change if you saw the earth as, the Supreme Lord, sacred creation? Like I mentioned, we refer here as Krishna instead of just a resource. Maybe we can just reflect upon this for some time. And yeah, that's it.
I love it. So
It was
beautiful. My friend, let's send Pallavi so much love, high vibes. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Beautiful presentation and such an important reflection question that you shared at the end there. So that the question was, how would your actions change if you saw the earth as Krishna's or as God's, as divinities,
yeah.
sacred creation, instead of as just a resource? And it's
Mm,
important for us to reflect on. I mean, this is, as you said, this is what bhakti kind of brings us to this point of asking this question, these deeper questions. And I love that you explained the bhakti lifestyle as being simple living and high thinking. When I first heard it, I thought it's like, well, it's a great little catchphrase, but it's so true. I mean, I can say for myself, I'm still relatively new. I have still so much work to do on this path, but a big thing I notice is this tendency towards simple living, just keeping things simple. And I see that in myself. I see that when I come to Govardhan EcoVillage, and I see it with members of our community as well, as they get more into bhakti. And then the high thinking aspect, just called to read these deeper texts, the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, asking the deeper questions. Who am I? What is my purpose? What is the essence? What is the essence of all these wisdom traditions? And so thank you so much for providing that presentation and that insight. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean, that is something, very like I felt like, even though being into so many environment projects, and then uh, I didn't have an understanding of this, that, being compassionate towards all the living beings, so in Bhakti Yoga, spirituality makes us understand that be it a small ant or any big animal or even humans, we need to be compassionate towards all the human beings. So that is something, when that mindset comes, you'll automatically will not even think about harming any species, you know. So that happens, and then yeah, that happened with me. And then I like how more I can live, minimalistic lifestyle. That is something. So it could be a small changes, in our life, which we can think of bringing. So let's say if you are using 10 tissues a day, maybe we can reduce it by one. So many of the times people think that sustainability is, it's difficult to practice. I do understand it is very difficult to live a completely 100% sustainable lifestyle, but then we can bring small changes in our life, which is very important, and that only will come when our consciousness is purified. Until our consciousness is not purified, you will not even think from that perspective. You know, we'll always be thinking, okay, I need this. Okay, let me buy it, and maybe we don't even need it, but we still buy it, right? And the COVID time was the best example, where I think across the world we realized that we actually can live on minimal resources, you know. And where we felt at that time, I've been just, reading a lot that how planet is healing, like
Mm,
we, and whatever this environmental crisis is happening, we humans are the major contributors, and not the natural calamities, but we, the humans. So it is on us to bring that change. It is on us to, change that small habit in your daily life. And that's what I was doing it already. But after coming into Bhakti, when I started understanding more and more deeper, so I become like more conscious of all my actions and what I'm doing in my daily life. So yeah, and one of it is like being compassionate towards all the species and not only to humans. I mean, these days, of course, we are even forgetting to be compassionate towards humans, and
mm,
Bhakti is teaches us that also, to be, all the lives are sacred, and all of us are the creation of the Creator, the Supreme Lord. So when we think that, and when we understand that the Supreme Lord loves and treats everyone, equally, maybe I don't know if it's right to say, but yes, when we understand that, so we will also not think of harming others. Yeah, that is what
mm.
it is.
I love that. It's beautiful. And I appreciate also when you're talking about exploitation. It could be easy to jump to conclusion and saying, oh, technology is what's causing the problems. But of course, it's not the technology itself. Technology is a tool, and it can be used to help,
Yeah.
and it can be used to harm.
And
And it really comes, this is the beautiful aspect about Bhakti Yoga, is it's about turning the microscope on ourselves and purifying ourselves and waking up and realizing. So as we read these texts and engage in these conversations, we become better people. And then we use the technology, or we use the resources in a way, respectfully, of Mother Nature and of the earth and of the environment. So I think
I
this is why it's so important that we have this, that you share this, and we have this conversation with Bhakti, because it's us, the humans, we need to change, not the technology.
I see a few people mentioning about some changes which they can bring in their life. So it's so, I mean, good to read. I mean, if they are able to resonate. So yeah, I mean, we should not use fossil fuels. And oh, I'm just going.
Yeah, there's many
Yeah.
different shares in the chat of
Yeah, we need
different.
to think that do I really need that? Yeah, that is something, we need to become conscious of instead of just, mindlessly buying it, buying the things which actually the modern perspective is teaching us, like which you have seen in my presentation, that, modern perspective is teaching us to buy more. But
Mm,
we need to become conscious and to understand if we really need that or not. So environmental crisis is not just a technological or political issue, and it will not solve only by changing the policies, but it needs the transformation and transformation of the hearts. Until we change ourselves, we'll still end up exploiting the resources. That is very important to understand. How so much, you think of okay, so the rivers are polluted, okay, so there are organizations who are cleaning it, but until we change the consciousness, we'll still end up making it dirty. So that consciousness needs to be changed. We see our oceans are like full of plastics, which are like harming the aquatic animals, and loss of species are happening. So we are not just polluting the water bodies, but we are harming those aquatic animals as well. So if
mm,
we develop that, that reverence nature instead of that exploitative one, we can bring the change. And we need to also understand that change starts from us. If you just
yeah,
think of that system needs to change or government has to do, they need to bring policies, they need to do that. I mean, of course they need to do, but until we change ourselves, we cannot see the change. So there's a great saying again, that be the change you wish to see in the world. So we need
mm.
to first change ourselves. And like
I,
I mentioned, it could be a small habit of change, maybe using 9 tissues a day instead of 10 if you're using 10, because we know that, okay, if those tissues, are coming by, cutting the paper, the trees. So of course, that is not environmentally friendly.
yeah,
So
that's so
yeah,
important.
these are the
Can,
small
can,
things, small
can,
changes.
can we ask you this question, Pallavi? It's so helpful
Yes.
to you've kind of set that framework for sustainability and things that we can do externally in our lives to minimize, to simplify. Coming back to the practice of bhakti, because you're newer to the practice
Mhm.
like many of us. And there's many
Yeah.
different ways to practice bhakti. There's chanting mantra, there's associating with like-minded people, there's reading the texts, and of course it's all important. Um, is there one aspect of the bhakti practice and lifestyle that has particularly helped you to become more compassionate for the environment and for other living beings? And again, I know there's many different practices, but which one has been most helpful or particularly helpful for you?
I think it is I would say, association of the devotees around. And I think I'm truly blessed that, my bhakti journey started in this divine place, Govardhan EcoVillage. And with the association of the devotees, because when I see, so here it's like a, 400 members community, where like 400 residents are here, including the monks. So when I see that, how minimalistic lifestyle they are living, and they have left many of the people over here, even including the monks, they have been you know very educated, they were having good job. Even let's say talk about Gauranga Prabhuji. So I have heard his story, that he had good admission into MIT US, but then he didn't go for it, and then he chose to do this to go for this path. So that started making me thinking that, what is that here in bhakti that which is making such educated people, that they are living such material pleasures, and opted to live this minimalistic lifestyle. So that was very striking for me. And when I realized that almost all the example over here are like that, people, they have left their material comfort and then came to this. But now it is like a very Govardhan EcoVillage, what you see it now, I have heard like 10 years back, it was not the same, and people had a hard time, maybe getting everything in place and setting it up. They were very not even, proper electricity, or this place is like a remote, and then Mumbai, it is like 3 hours from Mumbai. So to commute and all that is also difficult. Still, people have chosen to leave their material comfort and come to this place and work for Maharaj vision. And that is something is like really incredible, and I get to learn a lot from it. And I totally feel living around such examples has helped me to understand. Although my own lifestyle, even before coming to Bhakti, was kind of minimalistic. I was never behind like too much of material comfort. But after coming here, I realized that there are people who are left their good job in the US and all their material comforts, and they are serving here. So that I feel like very, very inspiring, and that keeps me like going. I often think that what was their mindset that they came here and they are staying at this place. So
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, that was my experience. I spent 9 weeks there, basically a couple of months last summer living with you all at the Govardhan EcoVillage. And
yeah,
we were sitting down. I was living with the Brahmachari monks. And as I got to know them, it would blow my mind. I mean, they're basically everybody's an engineer, but then there's like
yeah,
corporate lawyers, MBAs, medical doctors, nuclear physicists, the smartest people. And they had, as you said, they had very successful careers, and they were on a very nice material path, but yet
mm,
they discovered this path and this lifestyle of bhakti yoga. And to see them so fulfilled and so happy, and the positive impact they're having on so many people, like thousands, millions of people around India. And that it's
mm,
just, and again, not that everybody has to leave their material life and become a monk, but for me it was just
of
such a
course.
great example of what's possible. If we can just take a fraction of that and apply that to our lives, um what's possible. So I would
Yeah, yeah,
agree.
definitely. I mean, this, I think, sorry, I didn't hear your last line.
No, I just said I agree. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, so I mean, of course, the message is not that you need to leave everything and become a monk, because, like I mentioned, 400 people are staying here, and out of them, I think even only one-fourth are the monks, and rest of them are the people who are staying here with their families, who are working here, the staff. So bhakti does not never, I mean, it does not mean that you have to leave everything and become a monk. That is not the message. It is just like living consciously by still doing all your material duties. It is like I mentioned, it is the shift, shift in the mindset. That's it. And you don't need to just leave everything or go to Himalayas and just sit there. That is not what bhakti teaches us. So it is just like while living into doing your duties, while living in between the material people, while doing your all material duties, still how can still follow bhakti. That
Yeah.
is like shift in the mindset, considering everything as divine, considering everything as a blessing, considering everything as just respecting everything,
Mm.
considering as a gift that you have received from the Supreme Lord. So that it just requires this shift in the mindset. And of course, when you be with such people, then automatically I think it starts coming. And maybe for some people, I think naturally also it comes. Uh, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, be careful. For those of you, I see many of you on the call who are coming to Govardhan Eco Village with us in November. Um, I know for me, when I went there, it is such an incredible space that I felt myself tempted. Like I would want to move here. I would want to live here. I would want to have this association. Now, I'm kidding. I'm sure you're not going to give up your life and move there, but there's something about being in proximity and association with people who so genuinely believe and have discovered their path and their dharma, and are living with a service attitude. And you've shared that with us today, Pallavi, and we really appreciate it. And I want to save some time here for Q&A. So if anybody here has a particular question, either it could to do with sustainability, it could be to do with bhakti yoga. We have others on the call here who are newer on their path, like myself, like Pallavi. Anything that happens to be on your heart, um, we welcome it. And as we're keeping an eye on virtual hands, physical hands are in the chat getting our attention, maybe would you share with us, Pallavi? Um, because it feels like in one way there's so many things we could do. Like there's a tradition in India called the Jains, and they wear masks, so that they don't accidentally swallow a fly or swallow a microbe. And so there's very, I don't know if extreme is the right word, but like very committed ways of practicing to be kind and compassionate to the environment and to beings. So there's no shortage of things we could do. If there was one thing, if there was one thing that, our friends in India and our friends in the West could do to help Mother Nature, to help Mother Earth, is there like one thing that could be most impactful? And maybe from there we get some momentum. We do that one thing, and then of course we look for the second and the third. What's one thing?
I think I would just say what I have changed in my lifestyle is what I used to be a non-vegetarian and then I became a vegetarian. Like right now, like, following a sattvic lifestyle. So I think that is something which I realized not only from like bhakti perspective, but even though when I was, even somebody who is not in bhakti, but if you just understand environmental crisis as just a crisis, a real problem. So I was just seeing, just reading somewhere that consuming meat is like have a very big impact towards global warming. There are a lot of carbon emissions as just because of meat consumption. So maybe, and I felt very sad that I was one of those. So maybe that I'm just saying because that lifestyle change I have bring in my life, and I think it is very important. So yeah, I mean, just being compassionate towards all the living beings, and that teaches you to be if you are compassionate towards that animal, you'll never think of eating it. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
because that change have, yeah, it came into my life, so I feel it plays a major role in environmental crisis, and of course, Bhakti teaches us that to be compassionate. So, nothing to offend here anyone's sentiments or feelings, but I'm just talking about what change I have brought in my life. So I'm just talking from that perspective.
Yeah, and that's all any of us can do as teachers, as community members, is to share our experience and our journey. And I totally respect that. And actually, if I speak honestly for myself, I've been vegan, vegetarian for, I don't know, 15 years. I initially did it selfishly for the health benefits. So I wasn't thinking about ahimsa and nonviolence. Of course, I feel so good about it now, but just the health benefits alone were enough. That was the reason for myself. And then actually, I had cancer years ago and was able to heal through a vegan lifestyle and clean nutrition. Um, but then when we learn about how the positive impact it has on the environment, and of course the ahimsa principle, the nonviolence, it all makes sense and it aligns with that simple living and high thinking. I mean, I see many of the yogis here who are vegetarian, and I know others that aren't, and we respect that we're all at different stages of our journey. But that's helpful for us to hear,
Yeah,
for you, that this was one of the most impactful.
right.
I love it.
I see some couple of comments in the chat, and it's really good to hear those. It feels like audience over here are also resonating with this. Like we need to take responsibility from an individual perspective. Then somebody has mentioned about when I was young, we used to swing our in clothes, crochet. My grandma had a garden with all sorts of herbs and flowers. Banana tree. Yeah, that's what it is. Even in India, that's what I have heard and even, seen. Like, at my grandmother's place, that we used to live a sustainable lifestyle, and slowly with the technological advancement, everyone started looking for comfort and all. Okay, they started feeling, okay, I need this for my comfort. But we start forgetting that, for that comfort, we are exploiting. So it is just like that you need to bring back that consciousness. So in India, we feel it is just like going back to the circle because our ancestors used to live a sustainable lifestyle. And now it is like, we are going back to it with all these environmental crises.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for that. And I'm just going to say, Joanna, if you're able to come on and ask your question, I'd love to welcome you on. If not, I can read it if you're not able to come on video. But I'll start to read it, and please join on video if you're able. So Joanna says, "Dear Pallavi," yeah, she asked to read. "Thank you very much for the wonderful insights. Do you have any suggestions how to change people's minds to respect the environment from the lower classes up, so all the way up? I see my city cleaning up the canal, and surrounding areas, but people insist on throwing the trash back and clogging everything up again. It's sad. So I guess the question is around how to how can we change others' minds?
I think my answer to this would be like to change ourselves first. And when we change ourselves, so I feel automatically and unknowingly you create that, positivity around. Maybe people will not take you seriously. Maybe they will think as you have gone mad or something, because if you just try to do something differently, so initially people does not accept it. But if you are consistent into that, then people understand it. Okay, when they start seeing the changes in you, then they also start believing in you. I mean, that's what I have felt. Even when I started doing certain things, even you know I feel like people around maybe not appreciating, or they are not understanding, and I was used to get very disheartened. Even I used to get a lot of eco anxiety that why people are not understanding, because if you are understanding something, you feel like everyone should understand. Then bhakti has helped me, to understand this as well, that everyone is at different stages and we need to be compassionate. We need to give them their time to come to that level to understand. That understanding also I have gained after coming to bhakti. Otherwise, earlier I used to get like very upset, even like in my own family. I try to do something, but like others are not appreciating it. So that was like very disheartening. I mean, that was I was facing in my own family, not even in like neighbors and all. So yeah, it used to be like difficult. Like I was unable to make them understand. But now I feel like, and now I'm not trying to change them. It's like they should see the change in me, and they should automatically change maybe. And I just pray for them. That's what I do.
I love that. Yeah, I see
I don't know. I hope if it
that's
has answered her question. Yeah.
yeah, she acknowledged it has, and Shamron says yes. Lead by example. I found that myself when I was a neophyte yogi. 15 years ago. First found yoga, first found vegetarianism, and I was very enthusiastic. And I was telling all my family, my brother, my sister, my parents, my friends, you need to do yoga. You need to be vegetarian. And that was not an effective way of inspiring them. But actually, as I was living it,
Yeah.
and they were seeing that I was becoming healthier and I was becoming happier and there was just something different,
Yeah.
then they became curious and started asking questions. And so I love that idea of
Right.
starting with ourselves, leading by example, be the change that we want to see in the
Yeah.
world. You said it.
Yeah, and it's not difficult to do. We just need to be convinced. If in our own life, if we know the why of what we are doing, then I think it's not that difficult. You know,
Yeah.
but if you are just trying, maybe if you are just trying to do for the sake of doing, or if you are just trying to imitate, maybe then that it is difficult. But if you understand why you're doing it, or sometimes I don't know, like in bhakti, it says like if you just even follow the process, maybe slowly you understand the why of it as well. That is also true. But here, if I'm just talking about from the daily actions toward environmental crisis, then I feel like whatever I have done is like I was clear with why I'm doing it and why it is important. So even though I was not getting any support from even the family members and others, but I was firm that no, I need to do it in this way only.
Mm.
So yeah, slowly they started understanding, and now of course they understand it better.
I love
Yeah.
it. Amazing. Well, we're so grateful for you to take the time with us.
Thank
And
you.
Pallavi, you have a flight to catch and it's late in India. So
Yes, I
thank
know.
you for taking the time to be here with us and to share your wisdom and your heart and your love. And we're going to see you this fall. Many of the students here, we're going to be coming to visit you in Govardhan EcoVillage. We're sending so much love and high vibes over to the Govardhan EcoVillage. And my
Yes.
friends, thank you so much for being here. We have another session in 1 hour, and welcome to join us again. But my friends, make it an amazing rest of the
Thank,
day, and we'll see you very soon.
yeah.
Hare
Namaste.
Thank
Krishna.
you so
Hare
much.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Namaste.
Krishna.
Thank you so much for having me here today, Jack. I truly feel blessed. And I don't know how justice I could do to the presentation because, like I mentioned, I need to catch a flight, and in my mind, a lot of things are running, but I just try.
It was perfect. It
Thank
was
you.
perfect. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.